You are watching Gooch Live. We're back. Gooch Live featuring Paul Rosen. Paul is in the house. Paul, what's going on?
Not much, Gooch. Nice little start with Shoppy and then Johnny P. Cavers. Now we're going to get a little serious now, as we like to do on Sunday.
You got it. Unfortunately, had a little bit of a technical issue, but we're back at it. We are just waiting for Brent Sopel to join us, and he has in the green room, as has Jamie McGuire. Today's all about talking connected mental health initiative. Obviously, Brent Sopel has been an absolute godsend to us, helping us getting through a lot of things and getting us to understand what we need to do to keep everybody up. And I know he's been a big supporter of you, but we want to talk to them not only about their playing careers, of course. First, we'll talk a little bit about that. A lot of people already know Jamie McGuire because we just recently had it, but he does have a side where he dealt with mental illness. And of course, we know Brent has had his trials and tribulations and has been helping you. One of the things we'll talk about, Paul, is how to keep kids positive through this pandemic. And when I talk specifically about kids, we ourselves, how do we keep ourselves positive under these circumstances?
Yeah. No, 100%. Absolutely. Both guys who battled addiction, both guys who are clean and sober for a number of years, and both guys are huge supports to my sobriety.
All right. Bringing in Jamie McGuire and Brent Sopel. Soaps, what's going on?
Well, I'm sorry, boys. I'm 43 going on 60 through this technology thing.
No.
Way over my head.
Hey, no, Brent. Soaps, it's my fault, so don't take any
blame. Yes. Thank God. I got
trying to figure out all this new stuff. Hey, Jamie, what do you have a nickname?
Mags.
Mags.
Yeah, M-A-G-S. Change that next time.
Listen, NHL players, we're not smart, so we don't really get too far outside the
Brent,
box.
what are we calling you?
Pretty simple. Yeah.
Brent, we're calling you Soaps?
That's right. Soaps.
Mags, Rose, and Gooch.
Whatever, I'll answer to anything. In Vancouver, I don't care. Call me whatever. Just spell it right on my paycheck.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. Listen, I want to show a picture, and this is why we're doing it today. Obviously, we know, Soaps, you played and won a Stanley Cup, and Jamie, you worked very, very hard with goaltenders and had a career yourself. So I wanted to show you this picture first. What a great picture. Congratulations for winning a Stanley Cup. But the reason I'm putting that up there is, who in the heck would think a guy like that, looking that good with that silver cup, would have any issues with mental illness or any things that you have been challenged with? We all see that picture and all we can think about, what a great life. You've led a great life. And then we got Jamie, who, a proud moment. Look at the smile on this guy's face. He's working with the youth goaltender. You've worked with many goaltenders, but this one I picked out. Not only it's the only one I could steal off the internet, but it was also the only one that wasn't a thumb clip. Those two pictures, Paul, just show incredible human beings that none of us would think, and you've been through it yourself. I've been through it myself, that we could only think of ourselves hosting an accolade.
Yeah, and both of them with the connection to the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously, Soaps winning the cup with the Hawks, and Jamie working with Scott Darling, who won the cup with the Hawks. So, and then
being in touch with Scott throughout the whole process, because he was scared he was going to, slip up and maybe drink during that process. So we were connected the whole time.
All right. So today, what it's about, it's called Connected, and I'll be the host. Obviously, we know that I had some challenges. I had my sister who had challenges, but I think it's really important. Your journeys, guys, the three of you, are a lot more complicated. If I want to use the right appropriate terms, are a little bit deeper than mine were, even though, I did go on a dark side. But I'm really excited about the word excited, but really letting people to know the inner truths of this mental illness and the trials and tribulations that we all go through. So I'm just going to ask a couple questions as we go along, and please, Soaps, I'll go with you, Mags, and then I'll come to you, Rosie. And, I know it's tough on the internet that we have some lag time. So if you're stepping on somebody's toes or, we do something wrong, just continue on going. Don't worry about us. So first and foremost, thank you for joining us. But the first question is going to be, guys, the high. you were at a high, winning the Stanley Cup. Maybe that's not the high, but what is your, and I mean the high in a personal, not on drugs or alcohol or anything. What's your highlight of your life right at this moment? Sopes?
Well, it's funny that you were talking this week. This is the first week in my life that I feel comfortable. I feel great. I feel that I'm going to succeed at the business I'm in. I'm finally in a great place. Like I said, this is the first week of my whole entire life that I've actually, I feel good. And it's 2 weeks till 10 years that I won the Stanley Cup. The things I'm doing, new job. I'm walking around Illinois, knocking on doors, but I'm okay. And it's great to wake up and, God's allowing me to wake up every day. And, I'm so thankful for that. But it was 43 years of a lot of heartache, a lot of pain. But I always say rock bottom's beautiful. And I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. Very great answer. I love that. Max?
Well, I like how you mentioned rock bottom, and rock bottom's different for everybody. I guess the highlight of your life probably is, there's a lot of highs and lows, but having the balls to go and tell my family and friends that I had an issue, in June 1999, and committing to go to rehab. And like I said to you guys a few weeks ago, I was there for 100 days, a place called Homewood in Guelph, and getting out of there clean and sober, and then being able to, it'll be 21 years this June. That's probably my 10-year birthday, I guess, or anniversary was one of the highlights. That's for sure. Cause my parents threw a huge party, and, all my childhood friends were there, and it was pretty awesome.
Hey, Mag, you want to explain that birthday, because sober individuals know what that means?
Yeah.
For sure. Well, my clean date is June 28th, 1999. So, my birthday's in December, my real birthday. But, for me, that's probably a more important date because it's kind of the day that, and listen, my life's not perfect, man. I struggle with a lot of things. And you were saying this is the best week of your life right now. I'm in the middle of, one of the worst because, but still at the same time, it's my clean date. And that's, that's a day that I look forward to it coming up, because it's, we all seek personal gratification, from outside, and you don't always get it, but every time that, you come close to that date, to me, that's my birthday, and I'll be 21. Finally, I'll be 21.
Should be very proud of yourself. Great job.
Yes. Compliment to you guys, both you and Soaps, because you have obviously you had a birthday too. You call it birthdays?
Mine's at August 28th, so I'm coming up on 4 years for me. So it's coming.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of incredible doing this, because my 1 year, my birthday was January 30th, 2019. So I just recently had my 1 year, and I have my 1 year medallion, which is a huge thing. Gooch, you were hopefully you were going to be there, but you were in Germany. But I had a lot of people that cared about me, and I had my family, my home group family, which you guys know from. But I'd say to me, the last little while, reconnecting with Mags, us being together for many years, knowing each other's story, being able to reconnect now, even more than that, having Soaps in my life, and having him be able to guide me. Like, we had a talk today, and we were talking almost every day, and then I slipped up in my recovery and hadn't talked to him in probably, a week, and we talked today for, probably half an hour, and set myself back on track to understand what I need to stay clean and sober. It's not just saying it, man. It's not just living it. It's understanding who I am. And so we got back on track today, which means the absolute world to me. A story he told me, which stays between me and him, that will get me back on track to start our talks again this week. And that's what it's all about, Gooch. It's all about understanding who you are, where you've been, where you want to go, and surrounding yourself around people who care about you and know how to get there because they're doing it themselves.
But if I may jump in for a second,
Absolutely, please.
Rose, I love what you said. Recovery isn't, and Soaps, you'll get this too. Recovery is not just about abstinence. There's an expression. I went to NA a lot, and it's 85% abstinence, 15% lifestyle change. Because if you don't change your lifestyle, and I'm not talking about moving to a different city, I'm talking about literally changing your lifestyle. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to work. I didn't go to a licensed restaurant, not even a Swiss chalet for my first 5 years. Yeah. Like, I just didn't do it because it's easy to say no. It's easier not to have to. And, the other thing that you said is it's an isolating disease. And even in recovery, my buddies, I'm golf. My buddies know when I'm not well because I just drop off the face of the earth. I'm not using, I'm not drinking, but I disappear for a week or I disappear for 3 or 4 days. And I'm just in my own space and doing my own thing. But, having the ability to call somebody and reach out, or even answer your phone, that's a huge deal for me, is even just answering the phone sometimes. But I respect what you did and being able to reach out to Soaps and talk to them and stuff like that. And even myself, before the show, you said, can we have a talk tomorrow morning? And that's going to help me just as much as it's going to help you.
Hey, listen, guys, before you comment, I just want to say I applaud the three of you. It's one thing, and I learned this along my journey. It's not always easy to tell people, hey, I've struggled. I've had alcohol issues. I myself haven't, or drug issues, but I went through some rough times. But for you guys to stand up and say, this is what I've been and this is where I am now, I applaud you truly that you are the real faces on this. And Greg Bowden just said it. You guys are the real face of real men. Listen, because you jeopardize the ability for people to trust you, people to think that you're going to get through it, right? People judge you, and they shouldn't. The fact that you've been able to come through what you've, hey, the journey's not over. We all know that, but I'll tell you what, where you guys are right now is incredible, and I can't thank you enough for coming on this show and talking and being candid and open and exposing a part of you that a lot of guys don't do that, because you know why? Because think about this, and I think I've said this to you before, Soaps and Paul, on another show. Think about it. You're now exposing yourself, not only here, but in other areas. You tell people about your story, and they look at Soaps, okay, you won a Stanley Cup. Jamie, you've had a successful coaching career, and Paul, you've won a gold medal, and now you're walking in that room, but now they've seen that other side of you, and they've read the newspaper, or they've heard the stories, they've heard some of the things that you've done. You walk in the room, and they're not looking at Brent Sopel, the Stanley Cup winner, or Paul Rosen, the gold medalist. They've heard those other stories, and they don't know who you are at this moment. And so they judge you from that. Yeah. Right?
Can I just say one thing, and hopefully, Soaps, you can talk about this. We one of the things that we're talking about right now, and I have no problem talking about it, is the things that I did over the worst part of my mom dying of cancer and me stealing her morphine, my one daughter who's not talking to me now, and it's hurting really, really bad. And I had to talk with Soaps this today about, the fact that, my daughter's just shut me out of her life. And it hurts. Can you maybe talk about that, Soaps, to somebody out there that's watching the show that's going through what I'm going through with their daughter, to what you kind of told me?
Yeah, absolutely. When we're addicts, we're addicted to alcohol or drugs. I always say nobody makes a good decision drinking. And we all have pain and scars. And, I talk about cleaning out the closets. We all got to go back. We all have stuff in our past that we have to deal with. We like to drink and do drugs and just try and put that down. And we hurt a lot of people. Obviously you talk about Rosie, your kids, you hurt them. I hurt my kids. I've hurt my family. I got thrown into rehab. My parents had no idea what I was doing. So we cause a lot of pain through this, but we have to stop and look ourselves in the mirror and say, it's our fault. And we have to understand why, and going back and be okay, of what happened when we were 2, what happened when we were 6. It's it's hard work. Nothing good comes easy. It's hard work. And, you know, I'm not going to age you, Rosie, but, you know, it's a lot of years of pain. It doesn't go away overnight. And that's what everybody wants. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It took all those years to build up that pain. So it's going to take all those years back. But you have to be ready to bear it and do the work. You know, Rosie, we talked about, you know, if you want to see and talk to your daughter again, you have to do that work.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, James?
You know, you got to do the work. You're right. And sometimes I don't too, even today at, you know, almost 21 years clean. But my best friend, Bill Armstrong, the assistant GM in St. Louis, him and I went to Oshawa recently to do a talk with the Generals. Army scored scored one goal in Major Junior. It was a winning goal in the 90 Memorial Cup. But anyway,
matters.
Army scored. That's a pretty big goal. But anyways, he's been riding that for a while. But we went there and he was talking to the team. This was this September. And, you know, one of the things he was talking about a bamboo tree. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard the story, but a bamboo tree, once it's planted, you got to water it every day. But nothing happens. And you water it every day. And for 5 years, and nothing happens. And then all of a sudden, after 5 years, the thing grows. And it grows like 15, 20 feet in the air. But if you had missed a day along the way, it would have died. It never would have grown. So for 5 years, you didn't see anything. There's no progress with, and I guess this is really how they grow. Yeah. But I thought it was such a great analogy, and he spoke to the team about that. And it's about doing something simple every day to continue to better yourself, and eventually you're going to start to grow. And I just thought that was a great story I wanted to share because it's, you know, it's true. You don't always see the progress, and you don't even think it's there, but it is.
I think, Rosie, did I not say it today? A lot of little wins add up to huge wins.
Yeah, you did.
You know, for a baseball analogy, you know, guy going hit singles instead of going for the home run and striking out 300 times. You know? And I'm the one saying that I say all the time, you can't get to 2 till you get to 1.
Yeah, I love that.
Wow. Great advice. I love the bamboo tree analogy. I'm going to look into that because I never knew that, but it certainly makes sense too.
Use it. It's a great story.
Yeah. And Soaps, I'm stealing. Okay, if you don't mind, I'll steal some.
I got them all trade mode, Coach. You can't steal them.
Okay, well, I'm stealing that one. You can't get to, because I had to figure that out for a second. What does he mean by that? But I want to read something.
Explain that a little bit more. You know, like for addicts and alcoholics, you know, we're going through this process. We want to go from 1 to 10. We don't want to cover all that stuff and go through all that awful stuff. So that's why I always say it. You got to get to 1, you know. So we want to fast forward, and Rosie knows this very well. You know, he wants to fast forward too. We all do. You know, Jamie does. It sucks. But you got to slow yourself down, and you can't get to 2 till you get to 1.
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, listen, Greg Ehrlich is on. He's from Chicago. Big, huge Chicago Blackhawks fan. Big, huge fan of Soaps winning that Stanley Cup. And now, I don't know if he knows, but Greg, Jamie helped Scott Darling, one of our favorites. He's been on the tour with us too. We knew he went through dark times, but what a great guy. He was actually coming on the tour this year. And when we do go 2021, Soaps, you're staying in shape because you're playing. And Jamie, we may have to bring you as an assistant coach with Paul because he's 0-2. Listen, I want to read something that I think I want to hear your comments on this, guys, if you don't mind. Soaps, you started off, Jamie, and then Rosie. Donna Sutherland posted it on the Facebook. My wife sent it over to me. Her husband, we lost him last year to a heart attack, and he and I were good friends. And you know, she's gone through some real rough times. They'd sold their business. I won't tell you all the details, but you know, unbelievable hardship this lady is going through. Incredible. But she posts this, and I've got goosebumps. Honestly, I do, if you can see it. Reading this to you. I read it as soon as I came on earlier today. You either get bitter or you get better. It's that simple. You either take what has been dealt to you and allow it to make you a better person, or you allow it to tear you down. The choice does not belong to fate. It belongs to you. And I think that's appropriate in your situations. If you wouldn't mind commenting on that, because again, my sister went through it. It's funny you brought up Swiss Chalet, Jamie, Mags. my sister was living with my mother, and she was sober. She was telling me how sober she was. And I looked on my bill one day, and I had this bill from Swiss Chalet that was $165. And she had used my card to go over and buy a chicken. And I knew chicken didn't go up that much. So I happened to go over there, and there I find my sister another day sitting there with a bottle of wine in front of her. And I said, Gooch, what are you doing? You said you were sober. And she said, well, I didn't think you'd ever catch me. And it was her third bottle of wine. So fate did not deliver that to her. She made that choice. It belongs to her. Tell me about that, Sopes.
Yeah, for me, obviously, I'm religious, and God is the center of my life, and that's for me. I don't put it down to anybody else, but He is in control of my faith. He already knows what's going to happen, and I was on a podcast a few months ago, and the lady said, Brent, what would you tell your younger self? I said nothing. I said, I had to go through every one of those hardships to get to here. Now, God passes his messages not in good ways. Now, let's say if you had a great job, you had a great marriage, everything's amazing. If God's trying to show you something, you're not going to see it. So it always comes in a negative form, whatever that is. Now, are you mature enough to take a step back and see what that message is? Because there's always a message there. And, we talk about positivity or negative. Glass half full. And I think, Gooch, you could talk about, we talked about that today. Is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? And I talk about this every day. I'm proud of my past. I'm proud of the awful things I did. And that sounds funny to somebody that hasn't been through this process. Because I got here, I had to go through all that stuff. I had to end up in rehab. I had to get an intervention to get here today. So I can truly say that, I'm the best man I ever been today. And, I've got some up and downs, and, fear has really driven me. I'm finally, God is bigger my fear. Finally, it's taken me 43 years to be okay and understand what that is. So, your process is your process, and everybody's got to go through it. And instead of taking it negatively, be proud of who you are, what you are. God made you the way you are. Now own it, love it, and, take control. And, like I said, glass half full.
Mags, that's tough to follow, kid.
Yeah, is it ever? First of all, Don, if you're listening, I'm really sorry about your husband and everything that you've gone through in the last little while. But I love your attitude because, Brent, you mentioned fear, and you said fear is what motivates you. Fear paralyzes a lot of people. It does the opposite, and it takes, it does that to me sometimes too. And when you're afraid and when things aren't going well, you can freeze and not do anything about it, or you can, pick yourself back up and start over. And I say it to young goaltenders all the time: is you're having a bad practice? Well, it's the beautiful thing about life. Start over. Now you're not having a bad practice, even if it's right in the middle. And I guess, it's a message for myself too. Anytime in life, I guess you can just push that button and you can start over. It's tough. It's tough, especially going through, tragedy and things like, you mentioned about Donna, but you just have to keep going and keep going and keep going. And even the days that I think it's horrible and, I don't know if I can make it through another day, and you just do. And you look around and you see how wonderful things are. And, being successful, it's something I say often, at my school: success is a choice. And if you choose to be successful, then I think you will. And, but it's hard work. It comes back to nothing comes easy.
You get, and then I love that too, what you just said. Nothing comes easy.
Little technical issue there, guys. Sorry.
Well, it's okay.
Nothing does come easy. No matter what you are, if you want to be successful, you have to work hard. And there's only one person in this world you can control, and that's yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm
thank you. That was very, very well put. Thank you, Rose.
I'm learning that It's great to reconnect with Mags because I'd go out and speak to his kids at a goalie camp, and these guys thought I was incredible. And then I'd go driving home, and I went back and forth through this, hating myself, absolutely hating myself, and wanting to die so bad. And then going to another event and making everybody absolutely go crazy at this incredible guy. And I went on with that and on with it and on with it. So it's not that long ago on January 30th, 2019, that I decided to take my life. And I learned a lot those 17 days in the psychiatric ward. I learned a lot about where I wanted to be with my life. But even today, this coming Friday, next Friday, will be 16 months. And we, Sopes has talked about his sobriety and Mags. It's been a long time, 21 years, incredible. 16 months. And sometimes I think to myself, 16 months, it's nothing. Like, I've accomplished nothing. And then, I talked to Sopes about different things about the day, last week. And I think, man, I've actually accomplished a ton. 16 months is huge. But the thing that's still the only way that I'm going to get to that finish line that I want to get to so bad is to believe in myself. And I never believed in, Sopes has said some incredible things to me over the last month. And one is to believe in myself and to think I'm good enough. And people might not understand that, because if you heard me talk, I talk about, that I'm the greatest guy since sliced bread, but I wasn't good enough to myself. I let every little thing destroy me. And I can't get to where I want to be until I actually take a deep breath and go, you know what? I'm all right. I'm pretty damn good.
Wow, guys, a lot of people commenting. Greg Bowden, you guys are the face of real men. Stephen Rosen, Paul's brother, very uplifting to hear from three good men. Great message, Brent, of course, from Kevin Shea. But here's something, and Paul, thank you for that. I want you to, all three of you, respond to this. Kevin Shea, there's the stigma with revealing mental or physical challenges. Sports teaches us not to reveal frailties. Is that true?
I think it used to be, but I'm grateful that it's changing. And I didn't play in the NHL, so you're going to be able to comment on that part of it more so. But being around, pros, but also younger kids, I am finding that I battle depression. We're talking about addiction. I mean, part of my addiction, I think, was self-medicating because of anxiety and depression and ADHD and things that I just didn't understand. And I find that today it's easier to say, yeah, I'm depressed. I'm on medication. I take Wellbutrin every day. And I'm not embarrassed about that. And I think I hear with the younger kids, they understand a little bit more what it's all about. And so I think it's changing. So I'll, let you comment on playing professional sports and being in the NHL.
Yeah. Obviously I self-medicated, and, everybody thinks it's all glam and glorious, 20,000 people yelling at me, or, newspapers saying I suck. It's hard. Yeah. And, I played, 650 some games in the NHL. I played probably 3/4 of those injured. That's what you had to do to get there. And suicides right now, 70% are men, because we're providers and we have egos. And how many egos kill every day? It's tough to say, I'm struggling. It's easier for women because they're looked to be taken care of. They're nurturers, having kids. For us, we're not supposed to be like that. Mental health is opening up a little bit more. It's still a long ways to go, but the biggest problem is that people can't see it. If you got a broken leg, they know you're broken. If you're blind, you can see that. If you're autistic, you can see it. The mental health side of things, people can't see it. So if they don't have it, they're just like, you're just making it up. And that's the biggest part of mental health, is that it can't be seen by everybody.
It's, if I may, I'm reading a book called "You Mean I'm Not Lazy, Stupid, or Crazy" right now, because and I take a ton of notes when I'm going through stuff like this. But this is more about ADHD. But you feel like when you're incapable of doing something, you almost think you're like, am I just lazy? Like, why don't I want to get out of bed today? Why don't I want to go to work? Like, I've driven to work in the last 5 years where I get to the rink and I've sat in the parking lot and I've never got out of my car. I've sat there for an hour and a half and then drove home. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get out of my car, and I'm clean and sober 20, it'll be 21 years and I battle it every day. And you know what? I'm dealing with it right now. I'm talking
I'll go in bed. I won't get out of bed for a week. I'll walk to my door, turn around, get back in bed. So to follow that.
Still, can I ask you, is that still, guys? That still you have that? Those issues?
I can talk from the guy it's the latest situation, because, going up to leading up to my suicide attempt, I stayed in bed for weeks. Only time I got out was to do a job, to get enough money, to get enough pills, to get enough whatever I needed to get me back in bed, to watch TV, to close the blinds, to get to that next week or two. But if I made enough money on one day to last me the month, I wouldn't have got out of bed for the entire month. I didn't care about anything. But the great thing about what we're talking about, and Sopes has got his foundation with dyslexia, which we're talking about now, and you're talking, Mags, about ADHD, is that's the stuff that it all goes back to. And I've learned so much, again, with Sopes talking about this, is that, I'm thinking about things when I was in school, man, when I was in grade 5 and grade 6, and I'm called an idiot every day. I can't read. I can't write. I'm talking about this. I get a book and I go, and the guy goes, "Hey, Rosie, you're an idiot, man." And then finally, to make myself feel good, I played the game. Hey, I'm an idiot. I'll become stupid. I'll get thrown out of school. I'll get taken home so my dad can pound the crap out of me because I was an idiot. But I played that game because it was the easiest game to play, because I figured I was an idiot.
There's no such thing as a class clown or a bully. There's a reason why. And I was a bully. I didn't find out I was dyslexic till 10 years ago. So I was reading at a grade 4 level in high school. I remember standing in biology class and I'm got a card, I'm trying to read, and 2 kids are in the back of the class laughing. I put my card down and I snapped. There's ears here. I can't say, like, in the middle of a classroom. I'm like, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to beat the snot out of you.
Yeah.
And, I remember in grade 3, I threw a desk at a kid. So my struggles go back that far with thinking I'm dumb, stupid, and lazy.
But Goose, to answer your question, you said, does it still happen? Yeah, that the analogy I gave, sitting in my car in the parking lot over at Canlan at York, that within the last couple of years, I get there, I know I gotta go. I get there, I sit there. It's 3:45. I know I got private lessons with kids, and I sit for an hour and a half. I turn around, I just drive home.
Jamie Sopes, and I know you guys are obviously, you have businesses, you have. Soaps you up a lot of people. Does any of this being so open hurt you? Do people look at you differently? Like you're telling us, you're sitting in the car in the parking lot, and you're maybe going to teach a kid how to be a goaltender. Mm-hmm. Would the mother think, "Hang on a sec here, should I be sending my kids to him?" Or somebody hears your should I have to be hanging around? So,
well, here at the end of the day, I can only control myself. That's it. And I have to look in the mirror, and it's taken me years to look in the mirror and say, "I love you," and know it and mean it and feel it. And, if somebody wants to judge me, I feel bad for them because they're not comfortable. They don't love themselves. Because when you judge somebody else or you put somebody else down, is because you're not in a good place. Yeah. A lot of people, are mean to other people, well, because they're not in a good place. So I'll make you feel terrible. So, I kind of raise myself up. And I can't control what anybody else thinks about me. I'm crazy. I'm a whack job. Absolutely.
Those are exact words I think about you. But in a good way.
I feel I'll jump in next. I feel it's really important. Like I went through my mind for almost a month before I went to Paul Hunter and I allowed him to do that piece in the Toronto Star on me. And it was a big piece. And the only way I knew I could do it is to be 100% honest with him. And I got tons, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, some saying, man, Rosie, you're so brave. This, and then others not happy at all. Like, there was things my family read in there, my sister and my dad, that I said, again, that my mom's dying of cancer and I'm stealing her morphine because I needed it. What do you mean I needed it? She's dying of cancer. But I needed people to know the truth. And if people have an issue with that, I can't, like Soap said, I can't change that. I needed for me to show people that there's so much hurt and so much trouble in mental health going way back to when I was a kid that turned me into an addict, that I'm trying to get better now.
So before you make a statement here, Mags, look at that. Great. Greg is one of those guys that comes on every show, and everybody wants to talk sports. Everybody wants to talk what's going on in the NHL. Everybody wants to talk about who's the next upcoming goalie. Hey, Soaps, show us your Stanley Cup. You got it there, don't you?
Yeah, it's
everybody wants to talk to Soaps about his Stanley Cup. Everybody wants to talk to Paul about his gold medal, but listen to it's very difficult for people who do not have these issues to understand them. Thank you guys for your transparency and helping others to understand what you're dealing with. And what you're dealing with is how many more hundreds of thousands of people are dealing with exactly what you got, but they're doing it behind closed doors and are scared to step up and say, hey, I've got a problem, I need help. And I think shows like this are able for us to get people to do that. Thanks.
Different than Rosie and Soaps. I have, like you said, I have a business, and we got 300 or 400 young youth goaltenders in my program, and is there a risk that I said what I just said? Yeah, there's a risk, but you know what? I also hope that maybe somebody out there is thinking, holy shit, I do the same thing, and I'm not so different. I'm, maybe I can get through this too, So yeah, if I lose a client or two because they don't like the fact that I suffer from depression sometimes, then that's on them. Acceptance is a huge part of my life. And I know being in the program, Soaps and Rosie, you guys are going to understand that. But if you can accept who you are, and let go, there's so much guilt associated with being an addict and being an alcoholic. That doesn't just go away. But acceptance for me is a huge thing.
Guys, I just got a text from somebody that's saying obviously they don't want to be seen. I think you guys can see the comments on the right-hand side. I guess they were a little nervous not to say this, but is this day-to-day for you? Like, is every day a battle? Because we've heard that before. Obviously, through my sister, I watched a very manipulative, a very articulate, very intelligent people that even thought that she fooled me. My sister never fooled me. I knew what was going on, but it was day to day. Is it day to day for you guys? So,
100%. Here's the thing. We can't go change the past. We can't change the future because we don't know if we're going to be here. I may die in 2 hours. I don't know. So the hardest part is being present and living for now. And we talk about living minute by minute, because honestly, it may sound, good, you're by your sound there, if God calls my card in 3 hours, he calls it. We don't know when that time is going to come. So you've got to live life to the fullest. And you can do it by only staying present for the moment and living for a moment.
Yeah. Great words. Max?
I'm an addict. It doesn't matter that I'm in recovery. I'm an addict. If it makes me feel better, I want more. Whether it's fries or going to the gym or not going to the gym and staying at home. It's a day-to-day battle because, like I said, if it makes me feel better, I need more. And I have to find that balance in my life. Even though I'm clean and sober, it doesn't mean that I got a dragon tattooed on my back, because that's my addiction. That's my addict. He's always there. It's always there, just waiting, and I can't forget it. That's my addict right there. And yes, it's a day-to-day battle. It's not always the hardest day in the world. Some days you get through the whole day and you never think about it once, and those are good days. And in 21 years, I've had 200 of those, 300. I wish I've had more, but the majority of the time, yeah, there's always things that come up throughout the day where I have to question whether or not it's smart for me to do that. Should I take an aspirin when I have a headache? I could probably not. I have an abscessed tooth. Should I take a Tylenol 3? No, absolutely not. But I can take, some Advil to get the swelling down. So yes, every day.
Well, you've been watching Gooch Live featuring Paul, Rose, and Paul?
Yeah, 100%. Mine is still so fresh, but Brent knows from our talks that the last week has been extremely difficult because I've allowed things to seep back in. I've allowed this issue with my daughter to try to devastate me, and I've thought about relapse over the last little while because it's a tough situation, not working, no meetings, but I'm not. And I learned again today by having hard talk that if I go 4 or 5 days without talking to him, I'm going to have the demons crawl back into me and they're going to get me eventually. And by calling him and talking to him and getting it out and listening, understanding that my daughter doesn't hate me. She loves me. She just hates the things that I put her through. And eventually, hopefully, we'll be good again. And if we're not, I'll have to deal with it. But the longer I go with living it through my own mind and not getting my help, because that's my medicine right now, my help. Talking to Sopes, talking to Jamie, talking to my girlfriend who's been through it. That's my medicine right now. And if I don't get my medicine, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Shannon Anthropov, for that kind statement. I'll show it to you guys again, how much you really mean. Before we end this, I've got 2 more things I'd like to discuss. One of them, who's inspired you? Like, I know you're mentioning some names right now, Paul, but Sopes, has there been somebody in your past, or has it been Sopes? Maybe it's you that's inspired yourself now, but is there somebody that's made the difference? Obviously there's interventions. Obviously it's you that has to make that decision. I lived it with my sister. I was always the one that wanted to be that person. Paul tried to help. I wanted to be the person that got her through it. And she always said I was the person, but I wasn't enough. Is there somebody in your life that was enough that said, man, I'm here because of that?
Well, obviously, the people, threw me in rehab. I was probably a few months away from death. So, they saved my life. But, God, God is my first and foremost. And, Shannon, she sent that amazing message. She's the biggest impact, in my life. She brought me back to God. And at the end of the day, I can't count on anybody else. I've got to count on God, and I got to count on myself to do the work and love myself. And like I said, it's taken me 43 years to love myself. All the pain of reading in class and being laughed at and snickered at, and not being a man enough the last 3-4 years to being a man and providing in ways that you're supposed to do, taking care of your kids financially. These are all the things that I had to deal with and go back and to be okay. Again, God has been my focus, my center. Again, that's not everybody. That's me and myself. And, when, Rosie reaches out to me, he's helping me just as much as I'm helping him. And that's what people don't understand. When Mags talks to people, whoever we're talking to is helping us just as much as we're helping them. Yeah. And that's the community that we have, is that we got to be there for each other.
Yeah. So I've only got to know you over the last couple of months, and Paul knows my personality. I love to see the good in everybody. And I'll tell you what, we love you. I love you, kid. Like what you're doing, not only for Paul, seriously. You know, we had Patrick, I think it was Patrick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You know, you're an open book, and you are helping so many people. So thank you for that. Jamie.
As far as an inspiration is concerned, you know, I like what Brent said. I mean, Brent, you're obviously very religious, and God is sort of, you know, what's guided you through this. And I am not religious, but it's more spiritual. But for me, it was quit or die. And when I tried to quit every day for 6 months, you know, every day for a year, and then it got when it really truly got to the point where it was quit or die. I think I realized, I told the story a few weeks ago with you guys, but I realized I didn't want to die. And my inspiration at that point was, once I told my family and my friends, they all, as opposed to me, you know, thinking that they were going to turn their back and you know, think I was this horrible person. Like I said before, I underestimated everybody in my life. So you know, when my mother and father and everybody and my sister said, "Oh my God, okay, what can we do to help?" That was my inspiration, you know. But you have to do it for yourself. You could have walked into a room and caught me doing, or a bathroom and caught me doing whatever I was doing, and I would have convinced you I wasn't, because that's what we do as an addict. We lie. You know, it's funny. I still at my parents' house don't even close. I sometimes don't even close the bathroom door 21 years later, because I don't want them to think I'm doing anything wrong. Yeah. You know, it's in your mind all the time.
Yeah. Paul, before you answer, I want to do a shout out to Rennie Bork, has popped on, and I'll tell you what, I'm indebted to this guy. When I was in Australia and my sister was laying in a hospital bed in Kamloops, I felt lost because I couldn't help her what she was going through, and I put on my Facebook, "Hey guys, if there's anybody in Kamloops that could just go and see my sister, she's on life support." I got a message from Renee saying, "Hey Gooch, I'm in Hawaii. I'm arriving tomorrow morning. Please, I'll go see. Send me the details." Again, I get goosebumps over it.
He's a good man.
It's unbelievable. He went with his wife and went to see my sister while she was hooked up to all these things. And I got a little emotional. He sent me a note. He took a picture. He showed me. Oh God, Rennie Bork, you are a true. There's a guy.
100% salt of the earth.
Rennie, love you, kid.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He also played on one of my losing times I coached in Australia. He was on my team. We didn't lose because of him. I'll tell you that much.
Well, listen, what, Paul? If I can negotiate with these two over there, so for the back end and Jamie helping you with the goaltending stuff, you may get a win.
Listen, if I go again, I cannot go 0-3. I will not be able to live that down. But
never like to change. I love long shifts.
Yeah, I love when Mags talked about the you know, the lying. It's unbelievable. And I'm talking now that, you know, my brother's watching this the third time I'm talking about stealing my mom's morphine. I remember my mom talking to me and saying, like, "Hey, my pills are like, you know, I don't understand." I go, "What are you talking about? Would you think I would take your morphine? Like, what kind of?" And I got really mad. Like, how dare you accuse me, and this stupid moron that I am? I'm actually doing it, and I'm justifying it. That's how crazy we get. But my guy always, and it'll be till the day I die, is my dad. You know, he 89 years old. I still watch the way he lives his life. I watch the way people respect him, and it's so straightforward that it'll never change. My dad's my hero. Will be till the day I die.
All right, guys, I'm going to change it just here a little bit. I want to ask some uplifting. Your stories have been uplifting. And now I think what we need to do is just give me kind of an indication of what we can do to help people that have listened to the show, whether it's a parent or a child, deal with that. But I did want to say that, Jamie, I need you to send me the analogy on the bamboo. I do not want to lose that one. Yours, Soaps, it was pretty easy. I wrote it down. I think it said you can't get to 2 if you don't get to 1.
My lawyers will contact you, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. It's trademarked. But what I really want to say to you guys, that I've not been in your place. I've had some issues, but I haven't been quite where you are. But what I hear from you all is I lived it with my sister. I could pick up a telephone and my sister would be on the other end, and I'd say, "Gucci, Karen, how you doing?" And I could tell the first word that came out of her mouth. I could tell she's either been drinking or not. She fooled Paul, but she could never fool me. Never. And I was on.
I remember really quick, Gooch, when she was living with me and you had this conversation, and I got mad at you because I said to you, she's clean. I'm telling you, man. I talk to her every night before she goes to bed, 3 o'clock in the morning. She's clean. And then you said to me, Rosie, I'm sorry, but she's not. She's not. And then she went out that morning. I went to make her bed because I had her living in one of my rooms, and I went to move the pillow, and a bottle of vodka fell out of the pillowcase. And I go, you bastard, you were right, Gooch.
Yeah. So I could actually call, and she would tell me just what you just said, Jane. No, what do you mean drinking? I said, Karen, I know you've been drinking, sweetheart. Just admit it. I love you, dear. Admit it to me. You don't have to lie. I'm here to help you. No, and then we'd fight, and she'd hang the phone up. I'd have to deal with, Tony, and my wife was fantastic. So guys, anybody, all the people that are listening, it's true. And your words of wisdom here is unbelievable. And this is all the way from Germany. Great show, great persons. Thanks, guys. And of course, Shannon coming on. What you guys are is truly, truly inspirational. So now this is how do we help people now, right at this particular moment, that are dealing with kids that we need to keep them upbeat, positive. You guys, some of you have children. Well, all three of you do. But there are people out there that haven't experienced what you've experienced and don't have the wisdom to maybe say something. Is there one thing that somebody that's listening that could take away from this, that has a child that's on that borderline of depression or anxiety? I know there's an unknown. You guys mentioned fear drives it. How do they deal with that? How does a person help their child right at this particular moment, Soaps?
There's a few things. It's okay to not be okay. And the other line is that you're not alone. No matter when you're in a battle, and Rosie, you can talk about this, we talked about this, no matter what battle is that's addiction, depression, anxiety, whatever that is, you think you're alone, but you're not. You're not alone. Look at us, we're talking about it. It's okay. It's okay not to be okay. We don't live in the Stepford Wives with the white picket fence and, with everything that is. And, God's got to be bigger than your fear. And it took me 43 years to say, I'm okay not to be okay. I'm crazy. I'm a whack job and I'm okay. That's okay. I'm fine with that. But you've got people, you can reach out to myself. You can reach out to anybody here and we'll help you. Just know that it's okay not to be okay, and you're not alone.
Oh, thank you for that. Next.
Ask for help. Two different answers. The first question is if it's you. You said, how do people recognize it in their children? But if it's yourself, if you're, 18, 19, if you're 49 like myself, you got to ask for help. You got to. And you're so afraid because you think that, like you talked so before, that you're being judged. And I said it 100 times. I've said it 1,000 times. I underestimated everybody in my life. So you have to ask for help because it's there. You are not alone. It was the name of my home NA group. You are not alone in Richmond Hill, Ontario, at Elgin Barrow Arena, where I won an Ontario championship. I'm not going to let that go. It was in '87.
Do that cheap, shameless plug.
But anyways, no big deal. But yeah, ask for help. And if it's your child, I guess they need to know that you're okay with it. They need to know. I have a 21-year-old daughter who is gay, and she didn't even hesitate telling me because she knew I was okay with it before she even told me. And, it's the same thing with this. If you can be open-minded and you can be a good, there's different definitions of good parent, but your kids need to know that they can trust you with anything.
Great.
Yeah.
Paul?
I agree with both guys. And, the only reason that I am here, the only reason that I'm on this show and I didn't die 15 months ago is because I finally decided that I couldn't do it on my own and I asked for help. That is the only reason. Tomorrow I will get on the phone in the morning to talk to Mags about a few things. And then in the afternoon, I will talk to Sopes about what we're going through right now, and the lessons that I have to go through and the studying that I have to do to get to where I need to get to. If it's your child, we're all three of us are fathers of children. Mine are probably a little older, all in their 30s. But you have to watch. I think self-isolation is the worst. If your child is changing their habits, if they're by themselves, if they don't want help, if they're changing what they normally do, that's when you have to step in. That's what happened with me, and unfortunately, I was able to fool everybody. Gooch, you talk to me all the time. You doing all right? I'm doing great. And then my daughter calls you and tells you I'm in the psych ward because I tried to kill myself. Yeah. Don't allow that to happen. Step in, and force yourself into it if you have to. But ultimately, ask for help, and help is there. Believe me, all three of you have been massive parts of my recovery. And Sopes, that I don't know where I'd be right now without the last month with you.
Well, guys, John Caver says, when someone asks you, how are you, be truthful with the answer. You know what? And you guys know me a little bit. I know, Paul, you know me like a book. Somebody asked me how you're doing. I'm always up, like I am. Even in the darkest times, I still figure a way of seeing the silver lining in it. And I'll tell you one quick story, because I remember being in Australia. Sorry, it was in New Zealand with Paul. You guys may have heard this story where our rinks went missing, like we lost them on the ocean. And my wife and I were laying in bed, and we had found a way of getting the floors that you can't buy at the corner store. We found a way of getting these floors that were lost in Bolivia out of Amsterdam to Singapore, and being flown from Singapore to Auckland. And we had finally solved the issue. We were going to continue on being able to host this event. And my wife was finally, out of 3 weeks of being in the fetal position, she just finally got to sleep. And you as men know that the person that you love is in pain. You finally see them in that beautiful moment, and I felt good. My gosh. And my phone was ringing, and I'm looking down, and my mom was still alive at the time, and my mom would phone me 100 times a day, and I would put her thing was mum, right? M-O-M. And then my buddy who had organized the floor being flown out of Amsterdam to, through, and his name was Mart. So I didn't have my glasses on. I'm looking down, phone ringing. I think it's my mom. And I'm thinking, okay, we're finally getting to sleep. Mom, I'll call you in the morning. I won't pick it up. It kept ringing, and it kept ringing. So I finally thought, well, God, maybe my mom's in trouble. I better pick up the phone. I pick up the phone, and on the other end is Mart saying, Gooch, are you alone? So no, we're finally getting a good night's sleep. I said, you got to get out of the room. I said, what do you mean? You got to get out of the room. We are effed. What? I go out, and basically what had happened was the engine blew on the 747 in Singapore that had saved my wife and I. So I went downstairs. She knew nothing of this, but me not being smart enough, realizing that he'd also sent an email, and she was getting a copy of the email. So I come back into bed after probably 2 hours. I got phones. I'm phoning everywhere to solve the next solution. I lay back down in bed, and I realize I can only try and solve it in the morning. And Tony turns to me and says, Gooch, what's wrong? Nothing. Mom called. She's not feeling well. I calmed her down and that sort of stuff. And she said, no, something's up. No, everything's great. I get back to sleep. 10 minutes later, I can hear this, Gooch. She had opened up her laptop knowing that there was something, and there was the email saying it. And I went back through the same thing. She's crying. I'm trying to figure it out. My point being is the fact that I had to make a decision right then and there. I could have got into the fetal position too, but I had to stand up. I was accountable for it, and I went out there. And Paul, you lived it with me. So I think you guys have brought it to our attention that we need to be accountable for it and being able to move forward with it. So when you had made, those positive moments that you just said for kids, here are some other things I'd like you to kind of just give a nod to. Control your own anxiety. If you're not controlling your own anxiety or what you're going through, the people around you feel that, right? We all do. So that's really important, I think, especially I'm talking about kids now. Approach your kids and ask what they know. Is it not important for you to know what your kids are going through right at this moment? Obviously, if they're younger, Sopes, is it important for your kids to understand that you want to know what they know?
You want to know everything about your kids, so you can help them. And, it's the hardest part as a kid growing up. Like I said, it's taken me 43 years to get here today. So if I would have had some of this stuff earlier in my life, I could have probably made different decisions. But being there for your kids and understanding your kids and where they are now with social media and cell phones, and it's a lot more complicated. And parenting is tough. And Rosie, your parents doing the best they can when they're doing the best they can. There's no textbook. Oh, Rose, listen, my boy is 5 years old, so I got to go to chapter 12. No, parenting is tough. It's full time. It's anxiety. It's not easy. It's a hard work. But
I think also one of the things that's critical that Soaps is really teaching me is you have to forgive your parents for things that you might. I'm going through a real rough one right now, trying to go through some things. But he's convinced me that if I don't forgive them, nothing was done on purpose. So I don't forgive them, I'm in serious trouble.
Well, yeah, and Paul, my mother, she was not the easiest person to deal with. Nobody really knew the history of it. I knew my mom's history, and I was able to deal with it. I always understood where we came from. My mom was the love of my life, and I will never forget all the good things she did. And it's very kind that you talk about your parents in such a loving way. And Soaps, great advice. I'm going to you, Mags. Validate their feelings and concerns. That's an important thing for a parent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, again, that's just listening, right? That's just letting them know, I'm trying to listen. I got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old here, and they want to go to the park. And I am.
Whoop. Just lost everybody.
All right, where we go?
Okay.
Oh,
We're going to wrap this up, Jamie. So we're only a couple of minutes away.
You just have to be there for them so they know you're listening and you actually hear them.
All right. Soaps, be available. Okay, we just said that. 5, empower them by modeling behavior. So for right now that we're in this pandemic, that they're going and washing their hands on their own. It's good to let them know that you're proud of them and that they've made those choices that you've helped them try and understand.
Yeah, and also action. I grew up, do as I say, don't do as I do. So I don't drink now, so I can look at my kids and say, no, you're not drinking. If I'm drinking and I'm telling my kids not to drink, what kind of message is that sending?
Good point. Yeah. All right, here final comments here. I love the interaction that we got, Chris Wazzle. This show gets you to think and think critically about aspects we may not feel comfortable about. Great episode, guys. You've made it. Thank you so much for doing this. You guys are helping so many with this program. Now, we have 13 to 25 people that come on. I can't tell you. I can almost predict this episode will probably see 600 to 700 views. And for us, that's a lot. Like 600 people are going to be touched by this. So, guys, thank you. Shannon, I know she's been wonderful to you. Antipov, thank you for sharing this. Show your kids love no matter what. It will keep them feeling safe. If they feel alone, they'll self-medicate. And I think you brought that up, Megs. My sister's mental health issues, the alcohol was just a coping mechanism, and everybody tried to solve my sister's drinking. No, guys, we got to solve the issues that were driving her to drink. It's not anything. Putting them in a clinic, and my sister blew probably $8 million bucks in her lifetime trying to get better, because our system said, hey, come here, 150 grand for this week. Betty Ford Clinic. She was at every clinic known to man. So I think that's really a valuable point. Guys, I can't thank you enough. Listen, I want you all to make sure that you're watching, to make sure that you go to Soaps make sure you go to his foundation, find out a little bit more about it. Obviously, we do a thing with Connected Mental Health called Give a Shift. We're asking everybody to participate. I will be, again, we're close to having it together. I know, Paul, you're working on yours. Soaps, I got to get you to throw something up there. And now, Jamie, you're part of the family now. I need you. We've already raised, just with $5 donations, I think we got about $300. And John Cavers, I don't know, Soaps, if you got a chance, Jamie, to see John Cavers. He does these incredible pictures, photo. He's a great photographer. He's given us a bunch of greeting cards with these incredible nature things. You make a donation, we're going to be sending out these people. And what I want is, on these cards, because you guys are so inspiring, I want you to take a few minutes in the next 24 hours just to write on nature. Write a couple of inspiring notes. I don't want a novel, Soaps. I just want, some of your real.
No, you're not getting a novel. And if you were, it's going to be all spelt wrong.
Okay, well, don't worry. I want 5-word sentences.
I'd love that. That'd be great.
I'll correct it.
My saying is never give up, because I know how to spell never give up.
I got a better idea. I'm going to send all 3 of you 4 of the photos of the cards that he's got. You're going to see the animals, and I want you to equate it to our way of life and how we can make somebody smile and be positive. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I want to, thanks for having me on, guys. Obviously, it helps me just as much as it helps everybody else out there. And, just to Shannon, obviously that's the love of my life. And I'm here today. She makes me a better person. I learn a lot from her, but, this hour that we spent together, is life-changing for me.
Wow.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing your story, and nice to meet you. I didn't realize you 4 years. You'll be 4 years in August, and congratulations. That's amazing. And Rosie, you don't minimize 16 or 18 months. I started smoking again a few years ago, and it's been like 10 days now, and I'm as happy as I've ever been for 10 days. So that's something,
Thanks,
well, guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, Paul, it's so great. Oh man, great comments. And look at what Johnny just sent us. I have lots of cards. So we're going to do that. Soaps, I'll give you a bunch. Obviously, Soaps, you have a foundation. We want to support it. Thank you for what you do outside of this too. You're an incredible guy. And Jamie, thank you for opening up and sharing. And Paul, always. Final word to each one of you. Let's go with Paul, you first. Your final word from you for your
final word from me is believe in yourself. It's taken me a long time to believe in myself. Believe in yourself. Jamie and Soaps, I'll call you both tomorrow. Looking forward to starting the hard work, Soaps, that we've talked about to get myself better.
Megs?
Ask for help. Simple as that. Because that's what keeps us sick, is we're afraid. But ask for help, because people are there and they will help you.
Yeah, do the work. When you ask for help, like Mag said, you got to do the work. Nothing good comes easy.
Boy, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for inspiring us all to be better. Some people that may not know the pain that you guys have gone through, you've certainly opened our eyes. And to be where you are today is a true honor to have you on Gooch Live featuring Paul Rosen. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll be sending those pictures in the next 24 hours, and I need you guys to take this serious. And Soaps, even if you can't spell, there's a thing called spell corrector.
How about you call me? I'll give you my answers.
Okay, good. Hey, who's going to correct me when I write them down wrong?
Hey, that's in your court then. You don't want to see what I'm writing.
Hey, love you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
Beautiful people.